Hi, everyone. I'm Jes Thompson, Content Manager for Learning and Development at ATD. Welcome back to the Ask a Trainer series. On today's episode, my guest, Kevin M. Yates, and I discuss measuring impact. So stick around. All right. So, Kevin, thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of Ask a Trainer. How are you today?
I am doing great. Thank you for asking me and inviting me to join. Happy to be here.
Awesome. All right, Kevin. Well, before we dive into our topic on measuring impact, can you share a little bit more about yourself with our viewers?
Absolutely. I am Kevin M. Yates. And it's funny because sometimes when people say, hey, does the M stand for measurement? And I'm like, no, it doesn't. Yes, I am Kevin M. Yates. I've been in training, learning, and talent development now for, more than 25 years. Have worked across the industry with different roles, different areas of focus, different types of companies. And in the last 10 or so years, I have been narrowly focused on measuring fulfillment of purpose for training and learning. I'm known in the industry as the L&D detective. And people call me that because I'm kind of like Sherlock Holmes, right? I'm using facts, clues, evidence, and data, to answer the question, did training and learning fulfill its purpose? So it's kind of like a measurement mystery. It's not a murder mystery like Sherlock Holmes, but rather it's a measurement mystery. Yeah. So that's a little bit about me. That's who I am, and that's what I do.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing a little bit about yourself with us, Kevin.
Yeah.
So let's talk measuring impact. Can you tell us what measuring impact is and the value of measuring impact? And then tell us a little bit about what that means to you.
Absolutely. So for me, measuring impact essentially means evaluating the extent to which training and learning did what it was supposed to do. Or said another way, I believe measuring impact is really all about evaluating fulfillment of purpose. So we have different types of training and learning solutions. And those different training and learning solutions have unique purpose, right? They are doing something different across organizations. They are supporting people in different kinds of ways. They are supporting performance in different kinds of ways. They are helping people achieve organization goals in different kinds of ways. And so, when I say they, what I'm referencing is the different types of training and learning solutions. And so for me, the process by which you determine fulfillment of purpose is really all about measuring impact. I like to kind of replace that language and say measuring impact is really about measuring fulfillment of purpose. So my work is focused on measuring fulfillment of purpose. So I am collecting facts and clues and evidence and data that shows the extent to which training and learning did what it was supposed to do. And more often than not, I am measuring training and learning's influence on human performance and then ultimately business outcomes. And that's important because by measuring fulfillment of purpose for training and learning, and by measuring learning effectiveness, we are then empowered with fact-based evidence that we can use to continue what's working and really stop doing what's not working. And so if the data and the facts and the evidence shows that training and learning are not fulfilling purpose, we can use that data to figure out what we need to do different. And then when the data and the evidence shows that training and learning is fulfilling purpose, we should continue with that. We can leverage what's working in other types of training and learning solutions. So for me, measuring fulfillment of purpose or measuring the influence of training and learning is critically important because, again, it empowers us to know what we need to continue doing and what we need to stop doing.
And I think I've seen you talk about fulfillment of purpose, and you've written a lot about fulfillment of purpose as well. Can we dive a little bit deeper into fulfillment of purpose and explore and unpack what fulfillment of purpose means?
Yeah, absolutely. And so, there might be some who are listening and watching right now who might say, well, Kevin, it's really semantics, isn't it? Because some people say I measure impact. Well, I'm introducing language that says I measure fulfillment of purpose. And I believe it's a little bit more than semantics, right? Because I think about why we do what we do as training, learning, and talent development professionals. And ultimately, I believe that training and learning fulfills the highest purpose when it measurably influences human performance, right? So when I am measuring fulfillment of purpose, when I am thinking about fulfillment of purpose, what I am narrowly focused on is identifying the reasons for why training and learning were designed, the reasons for why training and learning was seen as a solution to solve a business problem or enhance capability or drive a goal. So purpose, just as you asked, purpose may be we need to increase skill or capability, right? Purpose may be that we need to change a method. Purpose may be that we have a process that we are enhancing. So there can be any one of the different types of needs for training and learning as part of the solution, not the solution, because training and learning rarely, if ever, solves a business problem on its own or addresses an issue on its own or helps pursue an opportunity on its own. But what training and learning can do in conjunction and in partnership with other types of variables is ultimately influence human performance, influence business outcomes. So if we're clear about purpose, and purpose varies from need to need, if we're clear about purpose, and if we are leading with purpose, that then makes measuring, air quote, impact a lot easier to do because we know what we're chasing after, right? We know what we're looking for. And so that's why for me, using language that says measuring fulfillment of purpose versus measuring impact, that's why it means a lot to me. For me, it's not just semantics. It actually means something for mindset and for methodology. Did that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's I love that way of looking at it, of measuring impact more as fulfillment of purpose. I know that often learning and development professionals struggle with impact, and I know that you've said that it's often an afterthought. So I was wondering if you had any tips or recommendations for how learning and development professionals can prioritize purpose and outcome before they launch into learning solutions.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you led with saying that there are colleagues and partners and practitioners across training, learning, and talent development who struggle with measuring results for training and learning. And would you believe, Jess, that there are actually some times where I struggle with it, even as the L&D detective. And I think it's important for me to be transparent about that because while measuring results and outcomes for training and learning can be very difficult, it is also very possible. So I like to balance the discussion by sharing that it's not always easy to do. Sometimes I am scratching my head. Sometimes I can't figure it out. But it is those times where I really have to go back to what is it that I'm chasing after? What is it I'm looking for? How can I be clear about fulfillment of purpose and what purpose was intended, right? And so then that kind of goes back to your question, well, how can you know what you're looking for, right? How do you approach measuring impact? How do you approach measuring influence? And this is going to sound like a broken record, Jeff, but it's so true, and it doesn't change. When we have clarity up front, before the training solution is designed, before it is consumed, before it is utilized, before people are engaging in the learning experience that was offered through a training or a learning solution, we got to be clear about intention. We got to be clear about outcomes. We have to be clear about where we expect to see a change. And I want to add to that, sometimes we aren't looking for a change, Jeff. Sometimes training and learning can be great solutions for maintaining and sustaining performance, right? Quite often, we're thinking about training and learning as a solution to change something. Training and learning can be just as effective in those instances where we need to, for lack of a better phrase, keep the train on the track, right? But we just need to sustain performance or maintain performance. Training and learning can be a great solution for that. So when we have clarity, again, before we design, before we create, before we're in the classroom, or before people are consuming and using that E solution for training and learning, we got to be clear about what the expectations are for outcomes. That then makes it so much easier to measure results using facts, evidence, and data. Where it gets difficult is where impact or results or outcomes is an afterthought. What makes it difficult are those situations where we create something, we design something, we deliver something, and then we ask the question, what's the impact? Versus
Right.
designing and creating with impact or influence or results or outcomes in mind proactively, right? Then measuring gets so much easier to do. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that absolutely does make sense. I really appreciate you saying that going into creating a learning solution with the outcome in mind first. It really clarifies that roadmap for designers. Are there any questions that you have in mind when trying to uncover expectations or what the outcome should be when you're developing a learning solution?
Yes, I absolutely do have some discovery based questions that I believe are critical that we should use as we indulge in discussion and conversation with business partners and stakeholders and requesters of training. These questions are actually outlined in the L&D Detective Kit, which is available for free on my website, right? So if you go to kevinmyates.com, you'll see where there is a free download copy of the L&D Detective Kit and Impact Templates. And as part of the L&D Detective Kit, you'll see where there are specific questions that I recommend you use as you are discovering what the need is, as you are having conversations to determine what is the purpose, what is the expected outcome, what is the need. And some of those questions we've heard them before, right? But I'll share them with you. You know, one of the first questions is, what is the business goal, or what is the organization goal, or what is the intention? That's followed up with, what are the performance requirements to achieve those goals, right? Another question is, when performance shows up real time, day to day on the job, what does that look like? How are people behaving? How are people acting? What are they doing? Again, what does performance look like when it shows up real time on the job? Another question is, what are the threats to performance, or what are some of the things that have potential for preventing people from performing in a way that helps them achieve goals, right? Another question is, what is it besides training and learning that has potential to drive performance for people in a way that helps them achieve organization goals, right? Some other questions are, what are some of the metrics and the measures that the organization is using to give signal for how people are performing and how the business is performing? So those may come through in KPIs, key performance indicators, that are reflecting human performance and human behavior, and then ultimately business goals such as like productivity and quality and time, right? So those are some of the questions that help proactively plan for training and learning solutions that are narrowly and purposefully tied to performance outcomes. And again, that then helps the measurement process, because we've identified this up front. We know what it is. We know what we're chasing after. We know what we're looking for. And then we can have much more success with measuring that way.
Thank you so much for sharing that tool, Kevin. And thank you so much for sharing all of your insight and your expertise. I think the conversation about measuring impact and the difference with measuring fulfillment of purpose is such a great conversation to have. And so I just appreciate you taking the time to share all of your expertise and your tips with us for today.
Thank you. I'm always happy to talk about this topic. It's one of my favorite topics, as you know, Jes.
Yes, I do.
So anywhere there is a conversation about measuring results and measuring the influence of training and learning, there am I.
Yes. Kevin, if folks want to connect with you or read a little bit more about you, where can they find you?
Gosh, I'm all over the place, Jes. Well, you can definitely go to my website, kevinmyates.com. I also share some of my methodologies and mindset on LinkedIn. You'll also find me on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. I even have a YouTube channel. So actually, if you Google Kevin M. Yates, you'll find where I am on social media. You'll also find my website, and you'll also find some other resources that I share as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Kevin. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. All right, everyone, that's our time for today. Want to give a huge shout out to Kevin M. Yates for joining me on this episode of Ask a Trainer. If you want to find out how to stay connected with Kevin, make sure to check out those show notes below. And if you want to know when our next episode of Ask a Trainer is going live, make sure to click on that subscribe button and hit that bell icon to get a notification. I'm Jes Thompson with ATD, and thanks so much for watching.